San Jose Sharks are looking for a top four defenseman. Plus, could Jake Guentzel be paired with Celebrini and Will Smith?
You're Locked On Sharks, your daily podcast on the San Jose Sharks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, welcome to Locked On Sharks, the premier hockey podcast covering your favorite team in the Bay Area. My name is JD Young, caretaker at The Reef, and also the co-host of Western Conference Tuesdays on the Locked On NHL channel. I want to thank you for making Locked On Sharks your first listen, probably part of the Locked On Network. We cover your team every day. If you want to be an everydayer, all you have to do is just follow wherever you get podcasts, or you can watch this on YouTube as well. And today we have some news starting to kind of come out from the combine of free agency news. So we're going to look at some more potential free agents for the Sharks. Mike Grier, it seems like he wants to add solid pieces around the young players. So we're going to look at some potential names that may have been linked, theorized, or just, might be a good idea. So before we get to all that, do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. So we have the Combine, which is where all the GMs get together. Sometimes you have coaches that you kind of have the brain trust from every team. You have agents, of course, and you have all the young players, the incoming draft guys who are going to be doing their testing. And this is a chance for teams to get to meet them. The Sharks have already met with Celebrini. And another kind of big part about this is where a lot of groundwork for free agency is done, right? Because you have agents and you have GMs and coach teams all in a small vicinity, and you wonder how those deals get done at whenever 9 a.m. on July 1st, whenever free agency opens. How they just get done automatically is because they're doing the groundwork now. It's very much whispers and kind of handshake behind, handshake deals and clouded rooms, et cetera, et cetera. But this is where a lot of that stuff is done. And David Pagnotta, I can never say his last name. Anyway, of the fourth period, he had an article today where the Sharks are looking to add a veteran top four defenseman to the roster this summer. And one that they're targeting is Sean Walker. So we're going to learn a little bit more about Sean Walker and why this kind of aligns with some of the other defensemen that I have highlighted as potential fits for the Shark, and that is that puck-moving defenseman. Sean Walker has also been, he states that Sean Walker has also been tied with potentially Carolina, especially if they can't re-sign some of their dudes. He's not going to be going back to Colorado, but Dallas, Toronto, Nashville are also other teams that are looking at Sean Walker, who is 29. I think he turns 30 either over the summer or right when the season starts. So let's get to know him a little bit better. So Sean Walker is 5'11", 195-pound right-handed defenseman. 81 games last year, split between the Flyers and the Colorado Avalanche. He had 10 goals, 19 assists with 150 shots on goal. Just played a little under 1954 average time on ice. Corsi for 53.80, goals for 56.62%. Looking at his evolving hockey, played a little over second line defensive pairing minutes, which would make sense, especially in the Colorado state, right? You have Cale Makar, right? He's going to kind of take the lion's share, but playing kind of that second pairing minutes, 92nd percentile player, 94th percentile offensively, 79th percentile defensively. Mostly even strength time, not too much power play time, which makes sense because the names in front of him. And then played a bunch of shorthanded and was awesome. Like, he's a very good player, especially at generating offense for his team, which is something the Sharks need help with. The thing that Walker really excels at is zone entries. So he is amazing at getting the puck into the other zone. Zone entries per 60, he's very high up there. Controlled entries per 60, controlled entry percentage. Like, he's really, really good at getting the puck out of his zone and getting it into the offensive zone, which, as we've highlighted several times, the Sharks struggled at doing this year. It's also pretty good at kind of defending zone entries as well. And like, I think Sean Walker is a really solid choice for a team that is really trying to upgrade that top four, because they have a bajillion bottoms, kind of bottom pairing guys. But adding a guy like Sean Walker, who is right-handed, they need that. I think would really help that. Looking at his deployment as for Colorado, was kind of right in the middle, where he got kind of split between offensive and defensive zone starts, and the quality of the competition kind of split as well. So didn't really face the toughest of competition, but he did, whenever he was on the ice, he did a great job of producing shot attempts and creating offense especially for the Colorado Avalanche. So what does Walker potentially cost? So Evolving Hockey in their cap friendly, here's the player usage chart. So you can see it's right in the middle there. So Sean Walker's expected a 35.4% chance to make a 5-year deal at $5 million, which would run him through his age 35 season. It's a little long for my preference, having a guy sign through his age 35 season, but with all the competition potentially bidding for him, you might have to kind of bite the bullet there in that scenario. So Walker, I think, would be kind of, again, fits a lot of the players that we've looked at, kind of like Andre Carrier, Oliver Shillington, these guys who can generate puck movement and get the puck out of their zone and create offense for them. That is something the Sharks struggled with last year, and even struggled is put in nice. They were horrendous at it. They were the worst team in the league. They spent way too much time in their own zone because the defensemen just could not get the puck moving, and a lot of it was that led to them just being pinned in their own zone. So having a puck moving defenseman, especially with younger players like Celebrini, like Will Smith, even William Eklund, and if Bordelot, whomever else could be on the roster, having somebody who is good at least starting the transition and getting the transition going, and even if it's just passing to some of these young forwards, it's going to be huge, right? And that's a huge issue with the 2023-2024 Sharks with Erik Karlsson leaving. I've had people ask me, well, why don't you show clips of all this stuff? One, we can't at Locked On. And two, since half my audience is in audio listeners, shout out to you guys, it'd be really boring to just have a clip that they can't really see. So yes, I had people comment and ask, why don't I do the homework and put the clips up? Because I can't. And two, this is a podcast with half of the audio, half my viewers or listeners are audio listeners. So, but Sean Walker, I think this really hammers home what the Sharks are looking for this offseason, and that is a puck-moving defenseman who can help generate offense. Walker, it'll be interesting because a lot of these guys don't get a ton of power play time, and maybe the Sharks are going to be using Mukhamadullin. They're kind of penciling in Mukhamadullin as your top power play guy, or maybe give some of these guys an opportunity just because they never really had an opportunity because of, again, people in front of them. So, but I'm glad to see Mike Grier looks like Mike Grier is going to be attempting to upgrade this defensive unit and try to find some defensemen who can get the puck out of the zone, for God's sake. So we're going to be talking about another kind of puck moving defenseman who might be a better option, or at least fit wise when it comes to the contract. So we'll talk about Brandon Montour here in just 1 minute. If you want to go get tickets for maybe the NBA Finals, you want to head up to Edmonton or go to South Florida to catch the Stanley Cup, or maybe you just want to go catch a Giants game or an A's game or a concert this summer, you need to check out Game Time. They have killer last-minute deals, all in prices, views from their seat, and their lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. The thing I love, of course, is being able to see what your seats look like. Nothing worse than getting to an event and realizing you have crummy seats. Actually, the only thing worse than getting to an event and realizing you have crummy seats is when you go to check out and you get slammed with a bunch of fees. You don't have to worry about that with Game Time. You know exactly what you're going to pay with their all-in pricing. So there's no surprises, no sticker shock, no nothing like that. You can buy tickets from two clicks, and they'll be sent right to your phone. So take the guesswork out of buying NBA Finals tickets or tickets for whatever you want with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL, LOCKEDON NHL for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, let's look at another name that's hasn't been linked as much, but just kind of in this same ilk of a puck moving defenseman. That's Brandon Montour, of course, of the Florida Panthers, who will be starting the Stanley Cup on Saturday. 6 foot, 194-pound defenseman, 66 games this year played, has 8 goals, 25 assists, 168 shots, 23-27 time on ice. Just an absolute monster when it comes to just being on the ice all the time. 55-24 Corsi for 52.33 goals for him. Looking at so he played, of course, first line minutes, ran the power play was power play 1 minute, not too much shorthanded, which is fine, again, especially with how much he's used at even strength and on the power play. 72nd percentile overall player, 63 percentile offensively, 76 percentile defensively. Goals above replacement, a little lower than expected. You would actually probably should have had a couple more goals. Expected goals above replacement is good. Good defensively, good on the power. Like he's just good. Like Brandon Montour is a really good player. Maybe not as much offense as we see from Walker, at least when it comes to creating goals above replacement, expected goals above replacement, but much better actual defender if playing defense is your thing. With the Panthers here, they are going to be dealing with some cap issues. So I just kind of want to go through their cap situation and why he's not expected to be back. They have about $20 million of cap space heading into the offseason, but they have 7 forwards signed, and they have 5 defensemen signed. So they have a lot of work to do to actually fill out the rest of their roster. Sam Reinhart's probably going to be leaving because he can get a bajillion dollars in free agency. You have guys like Anton Lundell, who's at RFA. You have some other guys that you maybe want to try to spend your money around, or maybe they keep a guy like Montour and then try to be very cost friendly in other positions. But if the Sharks can easily outspend uh outspend the Panthers when it comes to a guy like Brandon Montour. So looking at what Montour does really well, kind of just like what we saw with Walker, excels at getting the puck into the other zone. Maybe not as good at the retrieval part, or in well, he's very good at the retrieval part, but just doesn't get the same amount of kind of touches with it. So defensive zone touches per 60. But he's very good at getting the puck out of the zone. When he does, he's very successful at it. But does a good job with his zone entries and his controlled zone entries, and just how many he does per 60. So he is offensively going to help in that area very, very much, which is, again, something these Sharks, I think, are really focusing on doing, is trying to find that puck moving defenseman. Montour is also 29, 30 as well. So it's all these guys are kind of around that same age. So his usage very much kind of offensively given, did face tough opponents, or again, when you're playing a bajillion minutes a night, 23 minutes a night, like he's been doing, he's going to be facing a lot of tough competition. Maybe didn't do as much offensively as we kind of talked about earlier, as you would like for a guy like that, but there's a lot of mouths to feed. Florida's a really good team. You also have a lot of really great defensemen. Gustav Forsling, Aaron Ekblad. Like, there's a ton of guys there. So maybe given it an opportunity to have a little bit more offensive freedom because he's not deferring. That's where you might see some the offensive pop come from a guy like Montour. So what does he cost, right? So Montour is projected to sign a 3-year deal at $6.5 million, 28% likelihood that he signs like a deal like that. Potentially could bump to a 4-year deal at $6.9 million, would be the next likelihood, or a 7-year deal at 7.5 million. So between Montour and Walker, I think the Sharks will have a really interesting decision there. For especially if Montour's willing to sign a little bit shorter contract but more expensive. But I think I think Montour's a better two-way defenseman than Walker. I think Walker provides much more potential offensive pop than Montour does. But I think you're getting interrupted by my dog Dakota if you're watching on YouTube right now. But I think with Montour, that it would be a interesting decision to see what the Sharks would want to do there, if they want to go with a guy like Walker who can provide much more offense. It's still good defensively, right? But Montour, I think, is a better two-way player there, maybe shorter term but more expensive. So I think we're here at Locked On Sharks on the right track of what these Sharks are looking for, and that makes me happy. Makes me feel like I might actually know what I'm talking about every once in a while. So we're gonna look at some offensive help, and Jake Guentzel being rumored, theoried, whatever you want to call it. I'm here for it on bringing Jake Guentzel to San Jose. So we'll get to that here in just 1 minute. All right, so Jeff Merrick theorized, hypothesized, guessed, whatever you want to call it. He predicted Guentzel to San Jose, saying San Jose is going to need players to surround Celebrini and Will Smith with. And Jake Guentzel is very good. Of course, former Pittsburgh Penguin, got traded to the Carolina Hurricanes this year at the trade deadline. Has played with some dude named Sidney Crosby for his basically his entire career and is one of Sidney Crosby's favorite teammates. And you're adding two players who aren't going to be Sidney Crosby, but Celebrini, who's has shades of Sidney Crosby, as elite prospects like to put. Maybe not the worst thing in the world to have a guy who likes playing with Sidney Crosby with a player who's shades of Sidney Crosby and Celebrini. So let's get to know Jake Guentzel here. Guentzel, 5'11", 180-pound, right-handed forward, 67 games this year, 30 goals, 47 assists, 238 shots on goal, 20 minutes a night average ice time, 57% Corsi, 57.69 goals for when he was on the ice. He's good offensively. So played a ton of power play and a ton of even strength minutes, first line forward in both those departments. 86 percentile player, 86 percentile offensively, 36 percentile defensively. He is going to help the Sharks offense. That no ifs, ands, or but. Like Guentzel's really awesome. And 29, he'll be 30 at the end of this, at the beginning of next season. What does he do well? Everything. Jake Guentzel's really good at hockey, and really good at at offense. Shots per 60, when he's on the ice, it's awesome. Chances per 60, total shot contributions per 60, just like everything is like near to off the charts here. Point shot setup, like he's really just good offensively. Offensive type, cycle, forecheck, cool, he can do that. Rush offense, he can do that. Shots off high danger passes per 60. You know who's really good at getting high danger passes? Guys like William Macklin, Will Smith, and Macklin Celebrini. Those guys are really good at setting up their teammates in great spots. Jake Guentzel is going to continue to eat if he comes here. He's good at getting the puck in the zone when he's called upon to do it. Creating chances when he gets in the zone. Like Jake Guentzel's a really good hockey player. Maybe struggles at getting the puck out of the zone a little bit, but like who cares? That's like the one. His failed exit percentage is low. Like that's the one thing that that you can kind of really point to last season. But Jake Guentzel's would be a huge addition and a type of player you want to surround your young talent with, because he's just a good hockey player who's played with really good hockey players too. And he's going to be able to kind of bestow that knowledge of, this is what Sidney Crosby used to do. That guy who, like, if you ask most young players, Sidney Crosby's one of the guys it's a lot of them. It's Ovechkin, it's Crosby, it's Taze, or like kind of, and Patrick Kane, or like, interviewing a lot of these young players. Those are the guys they look up to, playing against or growing up. Guentzel, who's played with Crosby for 7 years, he's probably learned a couple things from playing with Sidney Crosby. So, looking at his zone chart, a lot of offensive deployment, but against tough competition. So as well, right, you're going to put offensive players in offensive positions. Guentzel playing first line minutes, right, and he produced when he was asked upon. He produced last year. So what is he going to cost? Now this is the stickler here, is the cost. 7-year projected 53%, 7 years at $9.6 million. So that runs to his age 37 season. Whoa, that's a lot of money for a long time. Again, I just spent the last 5 minutes talking about how Jake Guentzel's awesome. That is a lot of money, and you just really started seeing the benefits of cleaning up your cap space, right? For the Sharks. Signing a guy for that long for that much money it's risky, right? There's definitely a risk to it, but I think the way Guentzel plays, I think I think he will age gracefully. Yes, he's in the prime of his career and starting to exit the prime of his career, and this contract by the end of it's probably going to look bad, as every 7-8 year contract looks. But you have to start building at some point, and knowing Will Smith and Macklin Celebrini are gonna be on rookie deals for the next 3 seasons, at basically $1 million a pop. Your books are going to be much cleaner here soon, and by the time that those guys need to get paid, right? Couture's contract will be off the books. Vlasic's contract will be off the books. Like you'll have stopped paying Eric Carlson. You'll have stopped paying Brent Burns. You'll have a little bit of Martin Jones's contract will be off the books. Basically, Hurdle's contract will be the only one left. So that 27-28 season, which is when you're kind of hoping the Sharks are starting to hit their stride here. Yes, you'll have Guentzel on the books. You'll have Will Smith on the books. Shakir Mukhamadullin, like he'll need a new contract, but probably nothing crazy by then. Maybe a guy like Zetterlund takes a little bit of money here, but like you're still going to be able to build a really well put together team. And with the way the salary cap is continually growing, and with the salary cap expected to be like $92 million a year, even if the cap keeps growing, new teams get added, et cetera, you could be looking at a cap situation of around $100 million kind of in that time, where his contract is 9% of the books instead of right now, where if he were to sign something like that, where you're looking at a contract that's closer to like 11%. So that's the hope with it. But it's gonna be a tough decision. I'm glad I'm not in Mike Grier's shoes, but I do like the thought of being aggressive with these young players, right? You don't want to screw around like we did last. 100%. I'm glad that they tanked last year. They tanked hard. They got rewarded for it, right? With getting Macklin Celebrini here. But you've done it. You have Will Smith. You got Macklin Celebrini. You can't mess around with these guys' development and put them in the situations that we had last year, where just doing simple things like getting the puck out of the zone was a catastrophe at most times. So putting these guys in a good position to succeed by being aggressive, but being smart and getting guys who fit a short timeline, that maybe 3 to 5 years of as these guys grow and develop. And then you're hoping that some of your young players start to infiltrate and take over those roles. So the Guentzel one, that 7 years, I'm very worried about a potential 7-year deal, but I still think Guentzel's going to be a good player for a long time. And we saw him produce in Carolina without Sidney Crosby. He was great for them there. If he comes here and Macklin Celebrini's, a fraction of Sidney Crosby, I think he's going to be able to help a guy like Celebrini. And that's what matters most right now, is helping Will Smith and helping Macklin Celebrini to be as good as they can be, as quickly as they can be. So don't mess around with their development. Put them in a position by having good players around them. So that's going to be it for me today. I promise we'll do the 2022 draft class tomorrow, unless something crazy happens, but maybe we'll just do a double episode or something. I don't know. 2020 draft class tomorrow. So we'll get that knocked out. Make sure you guys are following along wherever you get podcasts. And of course, you can watch on YouTube as well. Follow the show on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Locked On Sharks. Follow me on Twitter at MyFryHole. Till tomorrow. Bye, friends.